Hey, Shalom, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to say call hello, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakah, Hakodash. I want to send double honors once again to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, and salutations to Yakim out there. Pushing the word of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, in sincerity and truth. This is Brother Ariala. This is just a quick update, real quick path for the Motb update. And, brothers were sending around these articles concerning the CBDC systems and just showing you how Esau is moving forward, at a full pace, lightning speed. They pretty much have all these systems in place. We've been saying this for years. We always tell the people, be not ignorant of Satan's devices, and integrating all these systems digitally and having a system that can basically accept as much the amount of data that's going to be moved across is going to be important. And CBDCs is one critical aspect of them being able to have the Motb. And I want to just read through a couple of those articles that were sent and talk about that real quick. Not going to be long, just a quick update. But first, I'm going to read, of course, Micah 2:1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hands. And so this is what we've known Esau to be doing. They have the WEF, the World Economic Forums. They have all their secret meetings, and they control all the major aspects of, of business all across the world. Merchandise and how it's moved and how it's calculated, and they're moving on it. They're moving on it at lightning speed. So I want to start off with this article Apostle Ramlov sent to me. It's on Blacklisted News. If y'all don't, frequent that, which I know most of the brothers do, but if you don't know about it, check it out. It says over 98% of the world's central banks gearing up for a new system of programmable, trackable, digital cash. And 24 nations will have live CBDCs by 2030. Now, this 2030 number was brought out by the WEF a few years ago, when they was basically stating that, they wanted to have a cashless society or people own nothing and they will be happy about it. And I've heard on some articles that they want to have this 2030 date actually be 2025, which if this is getting out, we always tell you, if this is getting out now to the public, they're usually years ahead of schedule, okay, of when they say that they want to hit this mark, okay? So it says, all this despite almost zero coverage in the mainstream corporate media to date, most of which still refers to a fully digitized monetary system as a conspiracy theory, says the era of cash money is nearing its end, and it will come, and it will come the end of privacy. The World Economic Forum claims in a new report that 98% of the world's central banks have agreed to implement a globalist, long-awaited dream of a cashless society. Most central banks, such as the U.S. Federal Reserve or quasi-government institutions owned privately by billionaire bankers. We all know this, right? And the WEF is not the first to reveal their plans of the globalist elite, which have been preparing for years to eliminate paper fiat currencies, right? Just like what we read about Revelation 13, Revelation 14, okay? But this latest report indicates the grand plan is now very close to being realized, perhaps just awaiting a triggering event, a black swan event of some type before making the switch to digital cash, right? So whether it's a, cyber attack or something of that nature, some type of regional crash of a market that affects everything, could be another outbreak of some kind, whatever it is, some type of event that they can utilize to say, hey, we need to go into these systems to make sure that everybody can be okay. As for first reported by Slate News, the latest revelation was made in an 83-page white paper of the WEF, which declares that nations around the world will soon be ready to adopt a central bank digital currency, or CBDC, in place of traditional money. Now we see now. I also saw an article of Zimbabwe finally releasing their gold-backed currency. They were supposed them and a few other nations were supposed to be upgrading their currencies for like the last 10 years. From Zimbabwe to Iraq. Okay, the whole the Iraqi dinar craze went down. That was the same time that people was getting these Zimbabwe notes saying that hey, they're gonna fix it soon, and you can get all these notes and you'll be able to make all this money, right? Now these nations are basically getting themselves prepared so that they can be brought into this CBD system, and basically it'll be just like a basket of currencies, and you get whatever allocation from whatever you stock up. All right. It says over 98% of the global economy's central banks are researching, experimenting, uh, piloting, or deploying CBDCs to determine how to modernize the capabilities of and improve access to central bank money. With this backdrop, in a recent survey finding that there could be 24 live CBDCs by 2030. The importance of clarifying the role of central bank money and wholesale CBDCs in the next generation of wholesale financial markets is underscored. All right. It makes sense that when the petrodollar collapses, all paper currencies pegged to it will fall like dominoes. And this is what I always was telling you brothers, like, it's got to be a controlled demolition, because when you see in the news these pundits or these so-called woke media people saying, "Oh, the Chinese yuan or the Russian ruble is going to take over the dollar," they're not paying attention. They're not, or they just want you to click on their video, because you can't take out the petrodollar without collapsing everything. Everything is tied to the dollar as far as how to move goods and services for the most part across the world. And these other currencies are not liquid enough, meaning other nations don't hold it. It'll be too hard to get. It will cause their currency to skyrocket in price, making everything just basically just go completely haywire. So that's why you see all of these nations at the same time doing the same thing. All right? Because they're all in cahoots, like what we read about in Second Ezra. Second Ezra 15. Let's see. This is in the GNT. It says, Second Ezra 15:46. You, Asia, are to be pitied. You are doomed. You have enjoyed the splendor and glory of Babylon. You have imitated her and dressed up your daughters to look like prostitutes, to please and gratify your lovers who have always lusted for you. Because you have imitated that vile prostitute in everything she has done or planned, God has this to say: I will send disasters upon you. I will make you a widow and send poverty, famine, war, epidemics to destroy your homes and bring ruin and death. So the East and the West have basically coupled together. That's why you got to look at the central banking systems. They're moving in unison while there's this fake fight to say that, oh, we're going to fight. No, the Most High is going to put it into the minds of the kings of the earth to fight. But the Motb part, the economic part, they're all doing this shit together, man. They're all moving in cahoots when it comes to their economic systems. Why? Because they've taken on that wine. They've drank the wine of the whore that rideth on the beast. Mystery Babylon the Great, which is America, and all her systems that come along with it. All right, this is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 5. It says, yea, also because he hath transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. This is what's happened. All of these nations have drank down that wine of the wrath of fornication. They've become prostitutes with that whore. Okay? They're all taking on this system. All right? They're all following into it. All right? Now, so this is something. It says, I'm gonna just read it. It says the end of fiat paper currency has been hinted at for many years, with perhaps the most clear indication coming from economist Dr. Pippa Milgren in March 2020, when she addressed the World Governments Summit and said, "And I'll say this boldly, we're about to abandon the traditional system of money and accounting and introduce a new one. And the new accounting is what we call blockchain. That's what's going to do the accounting. It's a digital ledger. It's a digital ledger of accounts. When you have a accountant's book, you have one side where you put your liabilities and your expenses or whatever. Then you put the other side with the revenue and everything that's coming in, and it's a ledger of what's coming in and out. The blockchain does that digitally for you, right? It says it means digital. It means having an almost perfect record of every single transaction that happens in the economy, which will give us far greater clarity over what's going on. In order to have that clarity of what's going on, you're going to need more regulation and control. Okay? Because people get in the current system, you can get around that system of accounting. This is why they're going to be presenting this as this is going to reduce crime. This is going to reduce money laundering and fraud. They're going to present it to the people as if it's something peaceful and nice and helpful for the world. But along with it is going to be control systems. Okay? Digital cash is not cash at all. It's not only digital, but programmable, meaning someone outside of your control will have the ability to turn it on and off or program it in such a way that makes it applicable only at certain stores or for certain goods and services and not others. Yes, that's part of it. That's part of it. There's something called administration keys that will allow whoever's that key holder to put whatever rules and regulations on the code that they want. Okay? They also can program something called an oracle that can basically set and determine prices and cook prices the way that they want. Okay? So all of this stuff is pretty much in there. It's all pretty much done. It's like over 98% of the world's central banks are gearing up for it. We're right here. Shit, we're there. Pretty much. Okay? I wanted to also touch in on this other let's see. No, I don't want to sign up today. How do I get out of this? Okay. All right. So this is the other one the apostle sent to me. I thought it was intriguing when I was reading through it. I'm just going to read parts of it. If you want to go and read it yourself, you can. It's also on Blacklist. It says unification of CBDCs. Global banks are telling us the end of the dollar system is near. Right? April 30th. It says world reserve status allows for amazing latitude in terms of monetary policy. The Federal Reserve understands that there is a constant demand for dollars overseas as a means of to more easily import and export goods. The dollar's petrol status also makes it essential for trading oil globally. If you have dollars, it's easier to trade. There's less transaction fees. It's just more liquid. It allows you in and out of the market more easily. It allows you to flow in and out of the market to get goods and services. Holding dollars allows for that. All right. This means that the central bank of the U.S. has been able to create fiat currency from thin air as to a far higher degree than any other central bank on the planet, while avoiding the immediate effects of hyperinflation. Because globally the demand for dollars is so ridiculously high, they can print money to buy up debt, and you're not seeing ridiculous amounts of high inflation. Okay, but it's starting to touch people finally after decades and decades and decades of doing this. Okay, much of that cash, as well as dollar-denominated debt, all right, ends up in the coffers of foreign central banks, international banks, and investment firms, where it is held as a hedge or used to adjust the exchange rates of other currencies for trade advantage. As much as one half of the value of all U.S. currency is estimated to be circulating abroad. All right, and you kind of want that you want that. World reserve status, along with various debt instruments, allowed the U.S. government and the Fed to create tens of trillions of dollars in new currency after the 2008 credit crash, all while keeping inflation under control, sort of. The problem is that this system is stowing dollars overseas. This system of stowing dollars overseas only lasts so long, and eventually the consequences of overprinting come home to roost. When you continue reading here in Habakkuk, the second chapter, you get to that part. It says, "Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, Woe to him that increases that which is not his? How long? And to him that laden himself with thick clay." We always go into that word thick clay. If you're new here, that word thick clay, a batyat, right? They've laden themselves with thick clay, weight of pledges, heavy debts. All right? That's what we see. We see heavy debts and wages being laid down here in America, or Babylon the Great. All right? And so it says that there's going to be a parable against that nation, a taunting proverb. We're starting to see that. It says, "Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee? And thou shalt be for booties unto them, because thou hast spoiled many nations. All the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and all that dwell therein." All right? So now we're start to see those rumblings as a transition is getting ready to happen. These nations that have taken on or holding some of that thick clay, they're actually going to be in a bad spot. So they're going to look to get some get back. Okay? We're seeing all of that. Let's see. What do I want? I want to skip down. Read a little bit of this part. It says, the International Monetary Fund's XC model, a centralized policy for CBDCs, says the IMF's XC platform was released as a theoretical model in November of 2022 and matches closely with their long-discussed concept of global special drawing rights basket. Now, we used to go on this years ago, how they wanted to digitize things, digitize their currencies, create a basket of currencies, and then that special drawing right basically will be the currency, right? So create a CBDC that has this allocated value of yen and or British pound, USD, Chinese yuan, whatever, and that become the new money. Okay. It says a global special drawing rights basket. Only in this case, it would tie together all CBDCs under one umbrella, along with legacy currencies. You see that? It's promoted as a policy structure to make cross-border payments in CBDCs easier. And this model is focused primarily on currency exchanges between governments and central banks. It could relatively end transaction fees, okay? Which for us, saving when you're moving around 100 billion, saving 3% is massive. Saving 10% is massive. When you're moving around trillions of dollars, saving those percentages is absolutely tremendous. Okay? Okay, so it says it's promoted as a policy structure to make cross-border payments easier, blah, 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 blah. Of course, it places the IMF as the middleman in terms of controlling the flow of digital transactions. The IMF suggests that the XC platform would make the transition from legacy currencies to CBDCs less complicated for the various nations involved. Boom. Let's see. There was one more point that I wanted to read. Where is it at? Let me go down. All right, boom. Here we go. Says CBDCs automatically require the end of the dollar as world reserve. So what do all these globalist projects with CBDCs have to do with the dollar and its venerated position as the world reserve currency? The bottom line is this: a unified CBDC system completely excludes the need or use case for a world reserve currency. All right? The unified ledger model takes all CBDCs and homogenizes them into a puddle of liquidity, each CBDC growing similar in characteristics over a short period of time. The advantage of using the dollar, uh, the advantages of using the dollar disappear in this scenario, and the value of currencies becomes relative to the middleman. In other words, the IMS, BIS, right? It says, and other related institutions dictate the properties of the CBDCs, and thus there is no distinguishing aspect of any CBDC that makes one more valuable than the other. Now, them moving and doing all this shit ain't gonna do nothing but create a fight. When we read about that in Revelation the 17th chapter, where it talks about those horns hating the whore and wanting to burn her with fire. We read about it in the book of Obadiah. Those that were confederate with thee have brought thee even unto the border. That's what we're gonna see. Okay, because of the way that Esau has created this world system, which is built on predatory capitalism, greed, evil. It's going to do nothing but cause massive chaos. As these nations move into their digital systems, China's moving to the digital system. The U.S. is moving to the digital system. Russia's moving to the digital system. All the African nations are doing it. There's going to be a fight over that shit. Okay? There's going to be a fight. The scriptures already, it tell us. All right? Ecclesiasticus chapter 10, verse 7. Pride is hateful before God and man, and by both doth one commit iniquity. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people into another. All right? This is why we understand how the Israelites, the true people of God, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and those of you that are scattered across the four corners of the earth, those of you that are of the chosen, the elect, are going to have a kingdom translated to you. Now, this place is going to have to fall and burn. We're going to have to see that. But the elect are going to receive that inheritance in that time. All right, so I'm going to read these 2 points and then we can close out. It says, sure, some countries might be able to separate their currency to a point with superior production or superior technology, but the old model of having a big military as a way to ensure forex and trade favors is dead. Eventually, the globalists will make two predictable arguments. One, the world reserve currency under the control of one nation is unfair, and we as global bankers need to make the system more equal. Two, why have a reserve currency at all when all transactions are moderated under our ledger anyway? The dollar is no longer any more easy to use for international trade than any other CBDC, right? Yes, and so it's going to be a concerted effort to try and make this transition and come into this world government, a world economy under one system. That's what they already got going on. It's already set. You see how 98% of these nations are already moving to these systems. And it's going to go from the big banks doing it all the way down to Main Street. Okay? It's going to go from Wall Street to Main Street to where everyday basic transactions by the consumer are being tracked and traced and kept under that same ledger to make it safe and easy and detectable for everybody. And that's where you're going to have to get chipped. And have that technology on you at all times to make things legal. Okay? So we're moving headlong into this thing like the prophecy said we would. All these other Israelite groups, oh, we don't know what the fuck they talking about. But we know what the scriptures are telling us, man. And we're going to stick to that. Preach it. So with that, man, I want to say, call hello, Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakah, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, and salutations to y'all came out there pushing the word. Sincerely and truth, man. Shalom.